Education, learning loss has been a frequent topic on the show, and one of the people that I've reached out for that obviously is an expert in education and really the direction of education, certainly in Arizona, but in other places, is the head of Arizona State University, Dr. Michael Crow. Dr. Crow, welcome back to the show.
Happy to be here, Mike. Thanks.
I want to talk about learning loss because it seems like this is a hurricane where the warnings are there, but the hurricane is heading your way. That as high school students, elementary school students get older, if they are suffering from this learning loss and it's not corrected, by the time they reach Arizona State University, it's going to put that on you to try to get them fixed. Is that accurate?
Yeah, there's a lot of learning loss that came about because of COVID, because of lack of preparation for rapid change into technologically enhanced learning. And so, yeah, we've built all kinds of systems to help people get caught up, but there's going to be catching up that needs to be done.
When you look at it from Arizona State's perspective, I look at the mathematics scores. Math scores dropped globally, but still the U.S. trails other countries. That seems like a direct contrast to what you're doing at Arizona State, because that engineering program at Arizona State is now world-renowned.
Yeah, so, the math scores across the United States, a country of 340 million people, are not exactly comparable to Singapore, a country of less than 10 million people. So we've got tremendous people that are capable of doing math. We just don't have math being equitably taught, that there's sort of a good set of outcomes for everybody that's out there. And so we're finding great engineers, but we found another way. We found ways to teach math all the way up to calculus with advanced learning robots that help people to make up for deficiencies and get their path into engineering, and that's really helped us to expand engineering. We're going to produce over 7,000 graduates in engineering, up from 1,000, so we've really found a way to do that.
And I know that you and I have talked about this in the past, that you have done a lot to influence and to help K through 12. Can you talk a little bit about what you're doing there in K through 12 in Arizona to get them prepared for college?
Well, what we're doing in K-12 is we're making available all of our technologically based assets to any learner, anywhere, any school district, any family. So we've done that. Those are all available. We've also worked with various school districts on enhancing their learning outcomes. We've built a whole series of public charter schools that were operating with a very high, above 95% high school graduation rate. So we're using those as demonstration projects to show how one can organize. And then we're also working on a completely new model for teacher preparation, teacher training, teacher enhancement, and the way that schools are designed. So we're doing all of those things at the same time.
The First Amendment question has been coming up a lot in the past years, but what's happened now with this anti-Semitic rhetoric that's going on, can you comment about the 3 university presidents from the Ivy League schools that got themselves in such hot water by not denouncing genocide? What is ASU's policy on free speech? And can you talk a little bit about what happens on your campus?
So we are, one of the highest ranked universities in the country for free speech, the protection of free speech. We go to every length imaginable for free speech, but hate speech is different than free speech within the university setting. You can't call for the elimination of another group because of their faith, elimination meaning their death. And so that's hate speech. And so hate speech is not consistent with the way that the university operates. And so we have it's a fuzzy line. It's sometimes difficult to judge or assess, but we protect it. Other people, I don't know specifically, but other people seem more situational, and there can be no situational analysis of calls for genocide.
It's interesting because you are so clear on your stance at ASU, and I'm not asking you to condemn someone else, but when you hear those Ivy League presidents have such difficulty in being as concise as you are about this, does it surprise you that they didn't have more of a clear answer to those questions?
It was surprising to me. I thought the hearing was, probably not well thought through by pretty much anybody. I do think that people need to get at the complexities of all of this, but there's no doubt that calling for genocide is hate speech. Calling for the death of someone because of their faith or their ethnicity, that's you can't do that in our settings. You can't do that.
President of Arizona State University, Dr. Michael Crow, is joining us. There was an incident that happened recently where some Jewish students had to be escorted off campus by campus police, and an investigation was opened. Is there any update on that investigation that you know of?
Well, that's not a completely accurate portrayal of what happened. What we had was a student government meeting in which there was a disruption in the meeting. What we typically do when there's a disruption in the meeting is we end the meeting, clear the room, make sure everybody gets out of the room, and then we reschedule the meeting for another time. That's a normal procedure. So there was no particular group of students that were escorted from the room. It was all students escorted from the room. And there was at least one person who threw a rock at a window. They didn't break it. We're still attempting to find that person and hold them accountable for their vandalism.
All right, and then the last question, and I know I'm shifting topics quite a bit, but in light of what happened at UNLV, there's been more conversations about safety plans on college campuses. Are you confident that ASU has a good safety plan in place and that the students at ASU can rest at night knowing that this is something that is rare to begin with, but that they're safe on your campus?
Yes, I mean, as safe can be. I spoke this morning with Chief Michael Thompson of the ASU Police Department and reaffirmed our commitment to instantaneous response. So the problem at Uvalde was no response. The problem in other places was no response. At UNLV, they responded immediately, and the perpetrator was subdued and shot by the UNLV police, and the situation was brought under control rather quickly. And so our response to such things is the same way. We have a well-trained, disciplined university police force, and Tempe and Phoenix and Mesa, Scottsdale police forces for other places that we're operating. And so I'm confident that we have the means to respond to such things in rapid order.
I've said, I think I told you this the last time we were together, that you've kind of opened my eyes when you talk about learners. I'm going to go back to our original topic. You talked about graduating from high school and being a good learner, and that's just the beginning, and you go to college to be an excellent learner. Do you believe that Arizona is on the right track with creating those good learners in K through 12? And do you think that the improvements are going to come when we recover from this learning loss sooner rather than later?
I think we can, and I think that, and I'm hopeful that we will. We have a system of education which is overly rigid and less innovative than it should be, and it's not using tools that are available to us via technological pathways to the extent that we could. But I think that we are moving in that direction and making things happen, so I'm optimistic.
Dr. Crow, I always appreciate your willingness to come on the show. You're a great resource for us, and thanks for all your hard work at ASU, and have a happy holiday.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Same to you.
All right. That is Dr. Michael Crow, Arizona State University president. Interesting topics that we covered there, and pretty emphatic. This is one of the things I respect most about Dr. Crow. Did you hear the direct answer to the question about hate speech on campus? You cannot allow the call for the genocide of people. Period. End of story. I thought that quote was accurate. That's what every one of those university presidents should have said, and he was surprised that they didn't. But those are the kinds of things, those statements of fact, that have to be made as the leader of any organization, but certainly the president of a university. And that's why one of the things I appreciate about Dr. Crow. And so a big thank you for him for coming on the show.
Thanks for watching the Mike Broomhead Show. Tap to watch the first season of Amazing Arizonans, a KTAR News podcast. You can also click the button in the middle to subscribe.